Hi. What are you having for lunch, Monica?
Oh, it's just leftover chicken soup. I just finished it, so I'm good.
Yum.
Yes, we got lots of people on the line here today. We got Anne and Amy, and is it Aloni? Alani?
Hello.
Hi. And Becky.
Alani, how do you say your name correctly so we don't butcher it?
Alani.
It's Alani. Okay.
I was so scared to say your name in your hypnotherapy session today because I didn't want you to wake out of trance and be like, "That's not how you say my name."
Oh no, I think you did say it one time, but I just swept it under the rug. It's fine. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I hate people's names wrong. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. Am I the only one in so far? Is there other people?
No, we've got other people here. It looks like we just don't have people on camera. If anyone's able to come on camera, we'd love to see your faces.
I'm probably gonna go off the camera because I have to finish cleaning this place that I'm at.
Totally
I just
fair.
wanted to hear everything.
Well, we're glad to get to see your face.
I'll probably hop back on later, but I'm gonna listen from now on. So
Perfect. Totally fine. And just so you all know, also we'll be using the chat box too. So if you can figure out how to use that chat box, feel free to have it up on the side so you can be typing in.
okay, sounds good.
Cool. I think we'll just give about one more minute and then we'll get started.
Yes.
Krista, I'm loving your hair today. It looks super cute.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And don't mind if you all see me motioning at all. I have people here. They're still trying to figure out what's going on with my hot water or lack thereof. So you may see a little bit going on with that. Say what? Well, it's a long story, but bottom line is they've tried to fix this multiple times. It won't stay hot. It gets hot, but then it's like hot water's gone within a minute. So it's just been kind of a pain. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
Okay. Well, to honor everyone's time, I think we can go ahead and get started. So, Krista, do you want to record? I think this is under your name, so you have to hit.
We're already recording, so we're
beautiful. Okay. Well, excellent then. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. We are so psyched to have you here. And I would love, actually, before Chris and I introduce ourselves, if you're able to either come off mute or go into the chat and just tell us, who are you and why are you here today? Who are you? And what had you decide to come on this call today with us about putting together using your life story for your signature speech? So drop us a note in the chat.
Or you can come on video.
Or you can come on. Hey, Erica.
Hi, Erica. Yeah, we want to know why you all are here. Because, I mean, it's a Friday afternoon and your time and energy is valuable. So I'm thinking you guys aren't here just for the heck of it. I'm assuming a lot of you have big life stories or things that have happened to you and you're passionate about, okay, I need to do something with this story.
Right. I will be back as soon as I'm done.
I hear background.
Hey, it's Jen. I don't know if you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hi, Jen. Go ahead.
No, I'm here, one, because I love both of you. And I wanted to hear what you had to say. But of course, the other reason is that with my book that I wrote this year, I just saw that my post from last year was that I wanted to write a book and that I actually accomplished that. And so my goal for 2020 is not to just have it sitting there, that I want to go out and speak about it. So
Yay.
Yeah, getting that out there even more. So
and Jen, we'll put a link to your book as well, so the women here can read it and purchase it on Amazon. I've been reading it. Monica, I feel like you're probably going to read it next because we always like to read all our clients' books that they publish. But it's so incredible. Like Jennifer really puts herself out there and makes herself vulnerable with her life story and the struggles that she's gone through. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's so touching. So we're so excited to support you with that. And of course, you should be speaking up about these stories and helping the women who they're basically trying to find love in their life. They're trying to find their soulmate and feeling very unsuccessful with it.
Yeah. And of course, you have to find yourself first.
Very important. So who else is here and wants to just quick share? You know, we don't have to go through every single person, but if you want to drop something into the Zoom or chat, or if you want to say something out loud, I'm going to read. I've got two things here. So Becky says, I've done lots of public speaking the last 7 years for my nonprofit and book events, cooking demonstrations, and I've loved it so much and want more gigs. Yeah, Becky. Becky, where are you located?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Nice. How's the weather treating you out there?
It's awful.
It's awful. Well, at least you're honest.
Snowing and like 10 degrees today.
Oof. Well, good thing you're inside and warm.
Yeah.
Good to have you here. And then Amy Murphy says, I've been working on a book as well and can't take the next step to talk about it and share it. I want to, but I'm very resistant. Interesting. So Amy, is this Amy that's here in Colorado? Yes, Amy and I are going to get together sometime soon and meet up. Amy, super happy to have you here. And I'm not going to dig into that quite yet because I feel like we're going to get into the meat of that here shortly. So thank you for sharing that with us, especially about your resistance. And I know Krista's going to dig into that here shortly. And Erica, it's got to be like 10 or 11 at night where you are right now. Yeah, so thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so good to see you. And is that Brandy Voss? I think it is. So we've got Brandy here, which is awesome. Brandy's also here in Colorado. And then Alani. Okay, well, cool. Well, feel free, as we go through this, we want to make this really interactive and make sure that this is about you guys, not about me and Krista. And we'll talk about that here shortly. So really quick, we just want to talk about who we are as well. And I'm Monica, clearly. I'm Monica Hutchinson. I'm a real talk and public speaking coach. And my focus is on helping you to reclaim the voice that you've lost to the world by whatever means it is. So I'm losing my words. It's definitely Friday. So that you can say whatever the hell you want in a way that feels good for you and gets you the results that you want. So for me, what kind of led me here to this place of speaking out is, let's be real, I had a shitty past 5 years. There were a lot of things that went down, starting with, I had about 4 people and my dog die within 1 year, and 4 people under 40, which was really rough, of different kinds of cancers. And then I went through 3 failed in vitro fertilization cycles, and ended up deciding I didn't want to have kids, had my tubes removed earlier this year as an elective procedure. My dad also died from lung cancer in 2017, very suddenly, only like 4 months right after he retired. And then I just went through a divorce within the past year. I left my corporate job. So like, it's been a bit of a shit show. Hopefully you're all okay with swearing. Swearing clears the throat chakra, just so you all know. So we're very much supportive of that. But for me, it was all of this came together, and it's like, you know, if I'm experiencing these things, then other people must have gone through stuff like this as well, or at least things that have been difficult to deal with. And for me, I've always been a very open person, and I didn't realize the power in my own words until I actually started just talking to people about the IVF, and the fertility journey was the one that really resonated with a lot of people. And I had people just say, oh my gosh, thank you for speaking up. Now I feel like I can speak up too. And that's what gets me right here in the heart. That's why I'm here. So Krista, tell us about you.
That was beautiful, Monica. Thank you for sharing all that. Oh gosh, where do I begin, right? I'm sure most of us feel that way here. We've all had these things happen and we're like, where do I begin? First of all, I've been running my coaching business for a couple years. So has Monica. And we've coached each other, and we've decided to join forces because we're both really passionate about creating this brand, Fearless Public Speaking, that is just so raw and vulnerable and truthful, and just going to the places where most people are afraid to go. Because Monica and I we're not afraid to go there. We're not afraid to share our truth. And so we're like, we've had so much shitty stuff happen to us, and I'm writing a book about it called Beyond the White Picket Fence. And I feel called, I've seen these visions. I'm going to be on the TEDx stage someday soon. I'm training to be a motivational speaker right now. And so we were like, we need to help women to do the things we're doing. We need to help women to share their stories, to share the stories for their books, maybe not necessarily to help you write it. Someone reached out to me the other day and said, can you be an editor for my book? I was like, hell no, I have no idea how to do that. But I can help you to be a motivational speaker and to share your story. So yeah, we just, times are changing. We're seeing women speak up more and more, right? The whole Me Too movement, everything going on in politics with Trump. And so like, we just feel that this is so appropriate that we help give women these sacred spaces where they can really speak up and use their voices and know how to speak up, and to do it in these ways where it can help you to grow your business and to help grow others and to reach your impact. And this is just the beginning. So this is our first workshop. We're going to be hosting a workshop like this every month of different ways to help you to become a motivational speaker and to speak up. And we have so much to share with you all. And so that's the nuts and bolts, I guess, of my story.
Thanks, Krista. And I just want to call out what Erica wrote here too. She said, public speaking has been lately calling me, but in the same time, I'm still being conditioned by multiple fears, and this is why I'm here. Thank you so much for sharing, Erica. And I feel like that's a beautiful segue into Krista talking about, some of the biggest stuff that's holding people back. So Krista, I'm going to turn it over to you to just kind of talk a little bit about fear.
Yeah, and so you guys will find out the more you work with Monica and I, we both have different areas of strengths and expertise. And Monica's really good at helping you to like structure your speech and present your speeches. I'm really passionate about the business side of things and then also the emotional side of things as well. And that's why I recently trained to become a hypnotherapist, is because I found is like, you're not going to write the book. You're not going to get on stage. You're not going to lead the workshop if you're letting all these fears holding you back. And if you're worried about people judging you, you're worried about like what your friends and family are going to think, you're worried about hurting other people's feelings. And trust me, Monica and I have both been there too, right? We're not judging and saying this is bad, but you have to work through these visibility fears, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to put your work out into the world. And that makes us so incredibly sad. And I don't even, I'm 20 weeks pregnant tomorrow. No, what is it? No, what is today? Friday. Yes, I'll be 20 weeks tomorrow. Yes, Becky's my pregnancy buddy right now. How many weeks are you now, Becky?
I'm 18.
You're 18. Okay, so you're 2 weeks behind.
Yep.
So if I get like emotional or I start crying on this call, first of all, I am a crier in general, and then you add pregnancy hormones on top of it. Holy cow, watch out.
Whew. I was going to say, Krista, you still cry even when you're not pregnant. So this is just amplifying it. It's great.
I know, it's amplified. It's crazy. But we teach women that it's okay to cry. It's good to cry. It's healthy. It's releasing. It's powerful. Crying can be your superpower. Okay, so we designed a worksheet for all of you. Hopefully you got access to that. If some of you did not get the worksheet, just type in the chat box and we can send it to you. But so I'm gonna pull up the worksheet here actually and do a screen share. And we're gonna we don't wanna just talk at you guys. Monica, what's the thing you say, telling is not training?
Telling ain't training. Yeah. It's honestly, we're going to get the most out of this if we all work together on it. And don't mind if you hear like water dripping, actually, because I think they just turned my water back on. So Krista, I'm going to let you take it and go turn that off real quick.
Yeah. So we don't want to just be here and talk at you the whole time, because that's so boring and you're going to tune out and do other stuff in the background. So we want you to participate. And we want you to like actually workshop and journal around this stuff right now, because, it's so easy to be like, oh, I'll do it later. But like, really, who does it later? Okay. So by the way, if you guys don't know how to use Canva is amazing. We use it. Monica and I have this vision. We're going to help women like with so many things in their business. And we're going to teach women how to use Canva to design these pretty worksheets. So stay tuned if you want to learn how to design these cool things. Okay, so the first one is we need to get really clear here, and I don't want to assume, but I also don't think that there's any of us here that are like, I don't have any fears around sharing my story. If you didn't, you probably wouldn't be in this workshop right now. So what's the number one fear holding you back from confidently sharing your story right now? I want you to type your response either in the chat box, or I want you to write it down on your worksheet or a piece of paper, and then you're welcome to come on camera, or we can read it off in the chat box. But I want to hear from you all. And if you don't know, just guess. What's the number one fear holding you back from confidently sharing your story right now? What's the number one fear holding you back from confidently sharing your story? Oh, thank you, Monica, for putting that chat box. Okay, Becky said fumbling over her words. Okay, yep, I can relate to that. Michelle said, oh, Michelle's here, yay. People thinking, why should I listen to her? Yes, I've been through that. People harming you? Yes, Erica, that was my number one for the longest time. And so people not in my target market and thinking my business is foolish. Okay. What else do you guys have? What's your number one fear right now from confidently sharing your story? And just remember, this is a safe space. You can be as honest as you want. Fear that no one will find it helpful or inspiring. Okay, I can relate to that. I've been through all of these things. Yes, Jennifer, where to even begin, right? When so much has happened to your life, it's like, where do you begin? What do you talk about? Does anyone else? Monica, what's your number one fear?
I think that there's been a combination, like you said, I've experienced all these ones too. I think a lot of the times, especially when you get into the edgier stuff of my story, it's still a little bit of people judging me or thinking you're oversharing or that I'm talking shit. That's a really big one for me, is making sure that I don't come across as talking shit, but really sharing like the lessons and giving the purpose of why I'm sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, a big one for me is being a leader that people look up to and follow. And even, I have a lot of clients and pay me and like what's okay to share and what makes me look like, what could make me look weak to where people would say, oh, she's not stable enough I don't want to hire her anymore because she doesn't have her shit together. That definitely can get to me if I'm not on top of that. So okay, so the main thing here is you guys are not alone. As you can see, we all have our fears. Okay, so yeah, Becky. Yep, I just went through that with my last Toastmasters speech. Monica was coaching me, and I at the end of the speech, I was like, oh my gosh, I was going to say this, this, and this, and I forgot. And Monica's like, it's okay. People don't know what you were going to say or don't say. So, okay. So next question is, what habits, patterns, or behaviors are you willing to let go of for 2020 to make room for a new visible way of being? So we want you guys to answer this. We want you to participate in the chat box. You want to come on camera or write in your journals right now, your worksheets. What habits, patterns, or behaviors are you willing to let go of for 2020 to make room for a new visible way of being? Monica, I assume you're putting that in the chat box.
I would love to let go of making excuses to avoid being visible and being heard. Like even just coming to this, I almost made up an excuse of, it's not made up, but I haven't showered. I just worked out and my husband and I have a hot date tonight. And I almost was like, well, I have to shower, but like I will have time later to shower. So it was going to be like a little white lie because I was like nervous to come here. And so I would love to just let go of creating obstacles for myself.
Yeah.
And like start calling myself out a little bit more on them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so glad you just said that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You could be like, well, I just don't have time. I have to shower. But it's like, really, it's like, is it the time or is there something else? And you're like, actually, I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just listened to this podcast from Mel Robbins and she talks about this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing that she does a lot. And I've been doing that. And so then I was like, shut up, Michelle, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, print the damn thing and go do it. And here I am. So
I think she talks about that in a TEDx talk too, doesn't she?
I think she talks about it a lot, I've found recently, because I saw that and then I was like, oh, I'm going to look up some more stuff that she's done.
What was her name so I can share that in the chat?
Mel Robbins. She's amazing. And she just talks about like, if you're getting in your own way, even just like getting up out of bed in the morning and you're like hitting the snooze button, instead of snoozing again, just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and get your ass up out of bed or get your ass onto a group coaching call or whatever. It's really cool. It's really useful.
Yeah, Monica, if you want to find that TED Talk, and I think it's one of like the most watched TED Talks actually, and
I'm sure.
Because we have a lot of people here who probably want to be TEDx speakers. Okay, cool. We heard from Michelle. We heard from Erica. What about the rest of you? What habits, patterns, or behaviors are you going to make room for a more visible way of being in 2020? Right, because we're all about taking action here. And it's one thing to just say, like, this is what I'm scared of, but we actually want to hear, like, what are you going to let go of? What are you going to change? What are you going to take action on? Jennifer said, lessen my procrastination. And Jennifer, there's like, I want to do coaching around that, because I truly believe that, like, I don't think procrastination is a thing. I think when procrastination shows up, it's because we're not aligned with our why and our purpose, or we might be doing things because other people told us we should do it. And so I'm just going to say, I don't believe in procrastination. I think it's a deeper thing going on. Amy said, I'm a hider and an excuse maker as well. I stay busy doing things that don't really move the needle forward. I've got to let all that go. Oh my gosh, Amy, I did that for the first couple of years in my business. I would spend my days working on all these things that would allow me not to get on the phone with people, to not put out programs, to not put out the things that were going to get me hired or make me money, because I didn't have to fear rejection then. So I got really good at making myself busy with, I was like posting like Instagram quotes all day long. And that, let's be honest, it doesn't get you hired, right? I'm taking this business course right now, and it's like, there's a difference between being like social media famous and being inspirational and actually showing up as a businesswoman on social media and putting out your offers and talking about how people can get on discovery calls with you and all that. So I'm really happy you talked about that, Amy. Let's see, Becky said, thinking less about what people think, not caring what they think. Yeah, and like at the end of the day, I think I've coached Monica around this. We're human beings. We're not robots. We're always, to some degree, going to have emotions and feelings. And if we do see someone respond back with a mean response, like, it's still going to always affect us on some level, but there is different ways to navigate. And I think, Becky, I've coached you on this too. And right, there's different ways to navigate that. And the more you get used to it, you start to get desensitized to it too. And so I think like the goal is to not care. The goal is to not care, but it's to feel prepared in how to respond to other people, because people are always going to give their opinions. I mean, we live in a world where we have a right to do that, right? So it's about feeling confident and knowing how to respond back and being prepared, I think. Aloni said, trusting my soul instead of doubting myself. Absolutely. Yeah. Trust is everything at the end of the day. Michelle has to go wipe a butt. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's going to be my life in like 5 months. All right. Beautiful. Okay, so with that being said, I want to transition it now over to Monica, who's going to get more. So obviously this is my zone of genius, helping everyone with the more emotional things and the fear. Now I want Monica to help us with actually structuring our life stories into powerful messages.
Okay, cool. So first of all, I just want to say, like, to go on with what Krista was saying, same kind of thing with me. Like, those fears come up as well. And structure, I don't know about any of you fellow structure girls out there. I'm a huge structure girl. So thinking about, especially when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm going to say this thing and I'm afraid. I know Erica had said, like, I'm afraid people are going to hurt me, or that there's going to be harm that comes my way. I want to share 2 quick tips about that. And so this is bonus material for all of you. But number 1 is to think through, when you're thinking about putting that stuff out there, think through what are all the mean responses you might get. Like, worst case scenario, that's my favorite question to ask on coaching calls. What's your worst case scenario? All the shit that people are going to throw at you. And then what do you want to say? How do you want to show up to that? If you practice thinking through that, whether it's writing it out or talking to a coach or a friend or a partner, whatever, and talking through that, seeing what it feels like, that can actually be really impactful. Chris and I are doing an activity at our retreat. So I'm an expert in doing elevator pitches, which is like, how do you market yourself to people and talk about your business? But we're actually going to do an event at our speech or at our public speaking retreat where we have people practice that with each other, and then maybe, you know, throw comments back or questions and kind of throw all those things that you're afraid of hearing so that you get a chance to practice that. So I just think it's super important to get a chance to think through what's all the shit that might come my way and how do I want to respond. And then the second tip of that too, which just left my brain, it like came back for a second and it left.
Wasn't that someone's fear when this happens? Their mind goes blank.
Totally.
Becky said, forgetting important things I plan on saying. There you go. It's happening to
Here it is.
Monica right now.
you just, and I'm not even pregnant. Like Krista's pregnancy brain is just transferring to me. If I think about it, I will let you know, because now I'm forgetting, but I'll come back to it. It'll probably just come back out of nowhere. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the most common mistake that people make when they are sharing their stories. Okay. The biggest mistake, and Krista and I have talked about this a lot of different times, the biggest mistake people make. Hold on, I'm writing down what I just remembered because I remembered what it was. So I can come back to it.
Are we to this part yet, Monica?
You can have that up because that's going to have to do with what I'm talking about here. Yes. Okay. So the number 1 mistake I see people make when they come to me and we talk about what's your story and everything like that is we make it about ourselves. Okay. We forget our audience. We say, I have this big story to tell, and I want to tell you all the shit that happened to me, and everything was so awful, and here I made it, and everything like that. That's cool. Like, absolutely. We want to share that story. But we have to remember that when we're going out to speak and to tell our story, whether it's on Facebook, it's on the stage, it's a TED Talk, it's whatever, we have to think about what is it that's going to connect our audience with us. Because if we make it about ourselves, just ourselves, they're going to energetically feel the difference of that, as opposed to if you are actually speaking directly to them and hitting a pain point or a problem that they have that is going to connect them to you, and then ultimately makes them want to read your book or work with you or be coached by you or whatever it is. So this is why Chris and I put together in this worksheet just some things for you to think about. And I find that this is really helpful every time you want to go give a speech, whether that's, I want to do a Facebook Live, but I feel totally jumbled. Think through these 4 questions right here. Really easy. First of all, how do I want my audience to feel as a result of my speech or my story that I'm sharing with them? How do I want them to feel when they walk away? Happy? Sad? Exuberant? I don't know, use a big word. Excited? Inspired? How do you want them to feel? Second one, what do I want them to do after leaving my speech? And keep in mind, sometimes there's more feeling and less doing, or there's more doing and less feeling. But what do I want them to do? Is it, I want them to come talk to me? Is it, I want to leave them with a question at the end for them to start thinking about and really digging into for themselves so they can take some sort of inspired action forward? What do I want them to do differently? And that's something that you'll probably include in your speech, and we'll get to that in a minute. Third one, what makes me the perfect person to share this message? And this is part of some of the, it goes back to some of the fears that you were all talking about, as far as like, why would people listen to me? Why am I the right person? Who cares what I have to say? You got to do the pre-work, babes. You got to do the pre-work to build yourself up first and tell yourself why you're the perfect person to share the message. I always tell people, you're the perfect message to share your story, because no matter how many people have experienced whatever it is you've experienced in your life, no one has experienced it exactly the same way that you have. So you are the perfect person because no one else is you. They get to feel your energy. They get to connect with that vibe. And it's your story coming out through you that nobody else can tell in the same way. So tapping into what makes me the perfect person to share this message with them. And then finally, this is where you pull in your stories. So you've done the pre-work on what I want them to feel, what I want them to do. Another piece of that is maybe what do I want them to think? What makes me the perfect person? What experiences do I have? What are my stories that paint the picture of the message? Because otherwise, oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this too, and Krista, I'm sure you are as well, we're like, oh my gosh, I have all these stories I want to share with you, and I'm gonna just like barf it out at you and throw everything at you, and I've got all these stories, but what are the right stories? Because another thing to one of your fears about forgetting what you're going to say is that other people, number one, they don't know. They don't have any idea what stories you're planning on telling. And number two, it gives you more content. It's actually good when you forget stuff because then you have your next speech written for you. You've got your next post that you want to put out on social media. Forgetting is not necessarily bad in your brain. Your short-term memory can only hold so much information. So if you don't get that piece out there, it's okay. You've still made the point. Okay, so what are your personal experiences that paint the picture of your message? And it's not about just saying, this is what happened to me. It's about telling the story. My old boss, this is part of my story for all of you. So my old boss, we had a great relationship for a while. I was a trainer and he was a manager of training. And he was from France and he had come to America and he had these huge stories. And I asked him one day, okay, are they all true? And he said, well, yeah, the stories are all true, but maybe the day was cloudy and I said it was sunny, just to change the vibe of it. Or maybe I only had a couple things in my bag, but I said that it was packed full of clothes. You get to choose how you make the story work for you and you make it the most powerful. It's not lying, it's painting a picture. So if you don't remember details, how are you feeling and how can you paint that picture? Okay, I'd love to pause for a second before I move to the next piece and ask all of you what's coming up for you right now. Throw it in the chat, or if you want to speak out right now, feel free.
And I just want to add one quick thing is those questions we just went through, you guys can also use this if you are designing workshops or sharing circles or writing
or even Facebook posts. Yep.
Like, it's so funny because Monica and I were like, should we call our company Fearless Public Speaking? And we actually had this happen in our public speaking academy we just ran, and one of the girls was like, she signed up, but she's like, I don't want to be a public speaker. And we're like, well, I think every time you write a Facebook post and you're sharing your message, you're a public speaker, because a speech is just a spoken thing that is already written down, right? Because like when you guys do your speeches, it's gonna look like a blog post first. It's gonna look like a Facebook post. So I just want to like help you guys to think outside the box. Like sometimes we just think public speaking is like, oh, I'm speaking from a stage, but it's so much more than that. And it's all you guys are already like public speaking in your business already. So just wanted to make that clear.
Dude, mic drop, life is public speaking. Right? Like life is public speaking. Anytime you go out, you're at the grocery store and somebody talks to you and you don't know them, you're freaking public speaking. You know, like it's just that reframe of thinking about it differently. Getting on a stage, that can be a little more intimidating. Being a lot more public, sure. But when you start thinking about every experience you have when you get to talk to anyone as an opportunity to practice your public speaking, like we do a lot of practice with impromptu public speaking in our academy because we think it's important to have some random question thrown at you that you maybe don't know the answer to right away, but you got to come up with a fast-paced response because that's life. People are going to ask us all the time, you know, what are you all about? What's your story?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. How do I explain that?
Think about like when your hairdresser is dyeing your hair or cutting your hair and says, tell me, what have you been up to lately? Like, that's your platform right there. You can start selling right there. And most people don't know how to take advantage of that or don't even know how to like have a conversation. But like that person doing your hair can become your client if you want them to, right? So this is like, we want to help you like really tap into this power of like powerfully sharing your stories and knowing how to clearly tell people what you do and why you do it. And this is why we believe this is so important.
So I've got Anne feels inspired. That's awesome, Anne. I'm super happy to hear that. And then Becky says, I love public speaking. My last book event, I thought I killed it. And everything here you're talking about, I did. I'm feeling proud of myself. Toot my own horn. Toot, toot. That's awesome, Becky. So cool. Now I want to look up here real quick because you had said fumbling over your words was a fear that came up for you. Okay, so this is going to lead into this next section about structuring your speech that might be helpful for you. And as we talk about structuring your speech, I want to lead with this. People ask all the time, is it good to memorize my speech? My thoughts? No. Because when you memorize, you're taking away your authenticity. You're thinking about the story instead of telling the story. I got to give credit where credit's due. That was another one. My old boss and I didn't end on great terms, but that was another nugget of knowledge. He said, don't think about the story, tell the story. Okay. So having a structure where you can have just some key things that you remember, and then from there, those are your points to take it and be able to just start saying it out loud and playing around with it and get your authentic vibe in it. And you have to practice out loud. I was a trainer for 7 years. When I first started in training, I had my little facilitators guides. I'd take them with me everywhere, and I had those right there for me. They were my protection, and I would never practice saying things out loud. And then again, this old boss of mine said, when he came in, he was like, do you actually practice this out loud? I'm like, no. He's like, how can you know what you sound like unless you actually speak your words out loud ahead of time? This is why every time Krista does a speech in Toastmasters, we get on a couple calls and she says the thing out loud. And then we do some feedback back and forth, and then we take a few days and she comes back and does it again. But Chris, I think you can totally speak to that saying it out loud is so important, because that's where you're going to fumble on your words, is if you haven't practiced feeling what it feels like to come out loud of your mouth.
Oh yeah, there was so many times I would write my Toastmaster speeches, and then I knew I had a call coming up with Monica where she was going to listen to me say it and give me feedback. And it just like, once I started saying it out loud, sounded so different coming out of my mouth versus in my head. And I was like fumbling and I forgot things and I was like, hold on a second. And so yeah, I think that's one of the most valuable things that we can teach you today. If you only like walk away with like one useful concept, is knowing that if you're getting ready to lead a workshop, or you're going to do a Facebook Live, or you're going to give a speech on stage, you need to practice with someone ahead of time, and you need to say it out loud. And maybe you practice saying it to your dog first while you're walking your dog. I've done that before. And then you have, your partner, or you have a coach listen to you. But yeah, you have to practice, especially if you're feeling nervous, if you're not feeling confident, saying it out loud and practicing it a couple times beforehand. It's going to help you show up so much more prepared and organized and everything. So.
Well, and having another person is a big deal too, especially I want to touch to Erica's point. I think someone else had also said like fear of what people might think, or fear of being harmed by other people too, is if you can say it out loud with other people that you trust first, you have an opportunity to get feedback and to have them maybe bring up, well, some people might say this to you. Some people might come back at you with this based on what you said. And then you have that opportunity to think through, oh shit, okay, if they come at me and they say that I'm full of shit and like I'm an asshole or whatever it is, I can think through, how do I respectfully respond? That brings me back to what I was going to say earlier, which I remembered. This is something Krista and I work on a lot right now too. And I think this is really important, is when you're thinking about how you put yourself out to the world. So here's an example. Krista just did a speech about why she's going to have a home birth as opposed to going to the doctor in a hospital and doing that. And one of the pieces of feedback that I gave Krista was, you want to make sure, especially if your content's really polarizing, that you let people know that you see them and you hear them, especially if they have a different viewpoint from them. And that acknowledgement is a huge thing for me. I don't know about all of you, but especially if you're going to come out and be like for me, I'm polyamorous. If I come out and say I'm polyamorous, people are like, holy shit, I may get thrown a lot of shit out at me with that. But if I say, you know what, I know this doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay. And you're all entitled to your own opinion, and I respect that about you, and this is what works for me. it softens things for people and allows them to open their minds so they actually listen to what you have to say. Krista, did you have anything to add on that point?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was some of the best advice you gave to me before I did give my speech last week. And I was talking about a very taboo and controversial topic. And I don't know if any of you saw my video I posted, but I was telling people why I'm choosing to have a home birth, and especially because I used to be a labor and delivery nurse. And I'm so grateful that Monica helped me to put that part into my speech to say, like, there's no right or wrong way to have a birth. And some of you may have had amazing hospital experiences, and I love that and I support that. But I want to share with you why I believe a home birth I'm like giving you a speech now, why I believe a home birth is the safest option for me and my baby. And I actually had a lot of feedback from the Toastmasters people, and they said, thank you for saying that and like respecting the fact that other people might not agree with you or they've had good experiences with the hospital. And it really grabbed people's attention. And that's where we could, we might talk about this in the opening and the transition, but that if you're getting ready to talk about a really taboo statement or topic, which I'm sure a lot of you are, because a lot of you have really like interesting big life stories, always use that. And it's just a beautiful segue into really having people like, yeah, they listen and they're not going to come at you with like daggers, and
it takes the edge off.
Yeah, they feel like you're on your team and on your side, even if you're giving them a completely different opposing view and idea. And it's so beautiful. It works every time.
Awesome. I'm glad that worked for you, Krista. Okay, so without further ado, let's go into the structure. And this is super, super basic because I don't want you to overthink it. This is something that I've used for a while. It's kind of similar to what Toastmasters uses. It's pretty standard structure for a speech, but I just want to go through each piece of it in a little bit more detail so you have an idea of what this could look like. And you can use this format for a Facebook Live. You can use this for if you're going to audition for a TED Talk, or if you want to put together a speech for a wedding, like whatever it is that you want to do. This works for anything. So first of all, the speech title, it cannot be boring AF, right? Especially if you're going to be like in a program or it's going to go out online. This, especially most of you have online businesses, when you're putting your face out there, you've got to hit them with something really interesting. I think Krista did a post the other day, and like her title was something like 5 reasons why we don't want you to go on the retreat, which was brilliant because people are like, wait, what? I don't get it. And it doesn't have to be that, but it's just, you want to create that intrigue with people that's like, oh, especially if you're at some kind of conference and you're speaking there and people have got like 15 things that they can go to and they're like, oh, that title. Okay, that looks really interesting. I want to go to that. And the speech title, honestly, this is one of those pieces that you can come back to after the fact, right? Like I would not get stuck on your speech title to start with. I would honestly recommend that you do the rest and then see what that looks like, maybe even practice it with somebody. And then your title can be the last thing that you do, because you may not feel in essence what everything is all about until you've gone through the rest of this process. So having a title, really important, but something that probably goes best at the end. Okay, your greeting. First of all, like we talked about, why are you the person that they should listen to? So hi, I'm Monica, and I'm a Real Talk public speaking coach. And man, I've had a shitty 5 years, whatever it is. That kind of leads into the attention grabbing opening too. But greeting, make sure that you are saying thank you for being here, or I'm so happy to be here, whatever it is. Just having a greeting to the audience so they know, who are you and why are you there? Why should they listen to you? The second part is the attention grabbing opening. And this is where you want to throw something at them, whether it's an interesting question that makes them think and is like, oh shit. I think my signature speech that I'm working on right now, I'm trying to remember what the question is that I use. Oh, I think it's like, what if I were to tell you that you're the only one responsible for your own happiness, or the only person's happiness you're responsible for is yourself? And that's a question that's kind of loaded, especially I think for people who have kids too, right? Well, like, I gotta take care of my kids and make sure they're okay and my family. But I like that it's a very pointed question because it gets people's attention, good, bad, or ugly. They're like, well, wait a second, or, oh yeah, I want to listen to what you're saying. So it could be a really good question, powerful question. Krista, what are some other things you've used for good attention grabbing openings?
Oh, well, first of all, I had to go grab a snack because
okay. When
you have a baby inside you, you're 24/7.
Got lots of moms here. I think they know what you're talking about.
And I hear it's worse when you're breastfeeding. You're even hungrier, which makes sense. You're burning a lot of calories. Okay, so what were some examples that I used of attention grabbing openings recently?
Yep, so I used one that was like, what's a powerful question that you can ask up front to get people thinking? What else have you used?
Yeah, questions are really good. Also, I think just using really bold, shocking statements as well. The course that I'm in right now with Jessica Riverson, and she's teaching us how to really powerfully post on social media. And she said, whether it's, so in your Facebook post, you guys can, this is a little social media tip. So either for your email list in the subject line or the top of your Facebook post, you want it to be all in caps. And you want it to be like the sexiest, boldest, attention grabbing statement or headline that you can do that basically is going to make people stop scrolling. And you can do the same thing too with your speech. And you can, it can be an objection, or it can be, oh gosh, you're like putting me on the spot right now.
I want to throw in statistics too, because Krista and I have had lots of discussions about statistics. I'm not a huge fan of throwing a ton of statistics in speeches. However, if you have a really powerful one, Krista, I'm thinking back to your speech about when you were going to travel to Africa and you threw a really powerful statistic out there about like some kind of crime rate or something like that. So a really powerful statistic to get people's attention can be a great attention grabber too.
Oh, that was for my Krav Maga speech.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, I started out with some statistics about like, did you know that every day, like 1 in 3 women are being raped? Mm-hmm. And like, you better believe I had when I said that and I opened up with that, I had everyone's head turn and look at me because they were like, wow, did she just go there? Did she just say that? Like, that's the kind of, that's what you want to use to get people's attention, or otherwise they're going to be on their phone, they're going to be daydreaming or thinking about what they have to do later. And like, so this is where we want you to be bold and we want you to like say the thing, right? Say the thing. So
yeah, so speaking of saying the thing, and that moves really good into transition, one tip I will share with you when it comes to adults and learning is that adults have to understand immediacy of application. Is what it's called in andragogy, which is not, pedagogy is how kids learn, andragogy is how adults learn. I'm going into my geeky trainer mode here. But andragogy for adults, there are different principles. And one of them is you have to know immediately how and why you give a shit about what's being shared. So there's a quick 3-part thing that you can think of with speeches. If you really want to like make this the simplest thing ever, it's tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. That repetition also is what helps keep in people's heads. So essentially you're giving your greeting, here's who I am, here's my awesome attention grabbing opening, and your transition is like, you know what, let me tell you a little bit about XYZ thing that's happening within whatever my story is, or XYZ point that I'm going to be making. And then you transition. And the transition can be really easy. It doesn't have to be like in transition or whatever, like, make it authentic to you. It's just like, okay, so today what I want to share with you is how I got through this story of my infertility by doing XYZ things, or the 3 lessons I learned from going through a divorce, or whatever it is, right? So, and people like numbers. Adults love numbers. What are the top 3 things? That's why we've got 3 things within your 3 major points. You tell people I'm going to teach you 3 things today, people pay attention because it's like, okay, I know exactly what I'm looking for. Telling your story with 3 major points. So what's the essence of your story? And this is like what we were talking about before, which is what's the story or stories that are going to lend to your point. You've got to find that through line. Like if as a coach, you want people to know that they can get through a lot of really shitty stuff. What are your 3 examples that are going to show that, you know, or what are the 3 things that are good to make you more resilient or something like that? And then what are personal experiences? And don't just state the personal experiences. Tell the story of what happened. You can use that line too. Let me tell you a story. Oh, people are like, ooh, a story. Tell me more. So using that as another great line to use in your speeches. But your 3 major points, figuring out what is it that you want to do to support this whole point, this call to action that you're going to give them at the end. I will say one thing too, and we'll get to the end in a minute here. Sometimes with speeches, what can be helpful is to start at the end and work your way backwards. Because if you start at the end, like I know what my call to action is going to be, I know what I want them to get out of it, then I can rewind and backpedal into that and say, okay, I want them to get this out of it. So now I'm going to put in, here's the 3 things that are going to get me there. And then you can back into the rest and then get to your speech title at the very end. So that's another way to reverse this structure. And then recapping your intro and the call to action. So that's really the last part. And Michelle says, yeah, I have to do that to get clear on what exactly to share. Yep. Sometimes starting at the beginning, you can just sit there and be like, I don't know. And then it's that whole procrastination, you know, or I'll do it later, whatever. It's not that important to me. But if you start with the end in mind, then you can easily rewind from there. Recapping your intro and the call to action. I'm going to laugh about this because I've coached Krista on this before. You don't have to say in summary or so just to recap or anything like that. In fact, I would encourage you not to, because it's too standard and it's what everybody does. And I love you, Krista. I know I can say that. So because we've worked through it before, we've all done it. I've done it too. It's like when you write an essay in school or you have to write a paper. This similar format, it's similar, but speaking stuff sounds different than maybe in summary sounds okay in your paper, but saying it out loud, it loses a little bit of power for you. So really, it's just kind of getting back to, you remember at the beginning, we talked about this one thing, like let's leave you with a powerful question, or we're going to leave you with something we want you to do, or something we want you to feel, or I've been to some conferences where speakers are like, turn to the person next to you right now and say this powerful phrase to them. Getting your audience involved, oh, that's advanced speaking skills right there. If you can get your audience involved and doing something and moving, we could do a whole workshop on that. That's like next level. But turning to someone and being like, I'm a badass, you know, whatever the phrase is, and having it say it to somebody else just emphasizes whatever the point is that you're trying to make. So leading into like, this is why I am where I am. This is why I'm telling you this story, because I want you to do something different, or I want you to feel something different. And then your call to action, whatever it is exactly that. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to feel? And invite them to talk with you. Often when you're speaking, and it depends on what medium you're using, if you're talking to them in person, like on a live stage, your call to action may just be like, I want to know what your story is. If you've experienced something like this, come talk to me. Like, come share with me. I would love to hear and just talk with you about your experience. Maybe if you're online, we know online call to actions can look a little different. It's, you know what? If this is totally jumping out at you, like drop me an emoji on here or whatever, or give me some hearts if it's a Facebook Live. There's so many different calls to action that you can throw in.
And this is where a lot of women get hung up, is on the call to action part, because it requires you to be direct. And I'm sure we all have interesting relationships with being direct and direct communication. I know I did for the longest time. But if you're going to be a thought leader, if you're going to be an influential person that's changing people's lives, you've got to start getting comfortable with direct call to actions, whether it's in your Facebook post, your emails, your speeches. And you have to remember that like people don't know what to do, and you have to tell them what to do. And you're not being mean, you're not being bitchy, you're not being salesy or slimy or icky. Like, people are looking to you as a leader and what to do for next steps. So you have to be confident enough to tell them exactly what to do, whether it is to work with you or message you or, you know, read this thing or buy this thing. Like, it's okay to be direct here and really show up as a leader in your call to actions.
And I want to flip that too on the other side is if people don't want to do what you ask them to do, then they're not going to do it anyway. So what's the harm in putting it out there? Right? Like you're not doing it for those people. This is another thing I want to say about if you're worried about your message offending people or people not resonating with your message, those aren't your people. There are plenty of people in the world. Like this is a very large world. There are plenty of people in the world. Somebody is your person that's out there and hearing your message. And maybe that person too, who is like, oh, I'm offended by this, needs to feel into that vibe a little and process what you said. Maybe it's jarring and upsetting at first. And we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in that space and letting them process it, because sometimes those are the people that come back later and are like, holy shit, you pissed me off, but like now I'm ready and now I want to talk to you because what you said sat with me and I've been sitting on it and I've been trying to figure out why I was so pissed off about it, but now like you're exactly the right person I need to talk to. I would love to know what you're all hearing in this or what questions are coming up for you if you want to drop in the chat or if you want to just jump on the line here.
I just had with what you just said. I don't know if you remember, Krista, but when I did the coach training, I had somebody actually unfollow me because I was, you know, in it every day and I was just really creative and the juices were flowing. And I had somebody like specifically tell me that, hey, I see what you're doing. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. And I was like ready to talk about it. And she was like, I unfollowed you. It was too much for me. And I was like, okay, like, cool, good for you. And I was a little offended for like 10 seconds. And then I was like, you know, that's okay. Maybe it's time to process why. Maybe think about why what I'm saying is offending you or annoying you. And I mean, we still are friends and we still talk like face to face. And she hasn't brought anything up, but I thought that was interesting because I feel like if you have something to say, then it may rub people the wrong way and it may resonate. And if you're not pissing people off, I feel like maybe you need to be sharing more.
I love that, Michelle. That's so true. And I think Krista actually coached me on that a while ago too, is like, you know, if I'm showing up too safe, and she really challenged me to just show up more authentically, and that equals being more excitable. And some people aren't going to be able to handle that right away, and that's okay. And this is where the acknowledgement comes in too. So it sounds like that's really great how you handled it, Michelle. And you know, we all can learn from our mistakes and what we put out there. So Erica, I love you, and I'm going to share really quick on how Erica and I became friends. Is Erica, I tried to sell to Erica and I was not using good tactics. And Erica felt that, and she was very clear with me about how she was feeling. But I felt into her vibe because she kind of shut me down, and that's okay. But I felt into it, and I sent her a message and I was like, you know what, that didn't feel good for me. And so I'm guessing it didn't feel good for you. Like what just happened? And she was so gracious and gave me this beautiful constructive feedback. And like, you know, now Erica's one of my favorite people. So we're going to make mistakes. And we're going to have things that happen that don't feel right for us, and even in our speeches. But this is where you can be very gracious and you can ask people for feedback. If someone's like, well, I don't like what you said, it's like, think the one response, one correct response to feedback. Thank you for your feedback. That's it. End of story. You don't need to defend yourself. Okay. Asking more questions is fine. Thank you for your feedback. I'd love to know what didn't sit with you so that I can consider that. You don't have to go into further conversation if you're not ready for that. But number one, that is it. Thank you for your feedback. You don't have to say anything else if you're not ready. You can always come back to the conversation. But thank people for feedback because it's an opportunity to learn, whether it's positive or constructive. Erica, I hope that was okay to pick on you a little bit. It's my favorite story.
I just want to say that this fear exists. We're really afraid to say things to people. We're afraid to hurt them sometimes, but we have to remember that by saying, we maybe make a great favor for them. And when we're hurting, even if it looks painful, even if it looks that we are in pain, but very often and almost always it's good for them. And I want to say that when I decided to be open, like with you, Monica, with other people, it's very strange. I thought I was gonna hurt people, But actually, the relationship with these people improved a lot after I was open.
Exactly.
So this is like a virtue, you know.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that too. And I just think when you start opening yourself up to feedback and even asking people, here's the other thing. If something feels a little bit off, it probably is off. Trust your intuition and ask. Ask for the feedback. You don't have to do anything with it. If you don't agree with it, that's okay. Ask for it. And that's an invitation. Then that builds a huge level of trust with people. And this is the same with speaking as it is with coaching, as it is with relationships. Like the more you ask people for feedback, the better they get at giving it to you, and the better that you get at giving it to other people. So I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but that was related to speaking. Okay, so at this point, Krista, I am going to turn it back over to you to take over kind of our wrap-up pieces here.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in. Is there any other last comments or thoughts from everyone before we move on?
I have one that actually just came up. I feel like I've been talking a lot, but I'm trying to share when I feel like sharing. Thanks. Yeah, I actually was having a conversation with someone who had seen one of my live videos, just a Facebook Live, and he approached me and, you know, gave me a little bit of feedback about like some, you know, I would do this if I was uncomfortable, and I would say a few extra times rather than, he gave me actually a couple of tips on different things to do. And I said, thank you for your perspective. I really appreciate that. And he actually came back to me like a day or two later and was like, you know, I mean, the first time he said, I feel like you should be a public speaker, and he's been in Toastmasters and stuff. And so that's what's kind of getting the ball going and turning, the wheels turning. And he came back like 2 days later and said, you know, I really appreciated how you said that you said, I appreciate your perspective. I thought that was really cool. And I thought that was really interesting. And so when Monica just said that, I was like, yeah, people, I mean, I honestly felt that, and he felt that. And now we have this like rapport, and I can go to him as a resource if I ever need any, you know, feedback. And I thought that's really valuable. So thanks for sharing that, Monica.
Yeah, because you could have got really, like, some women would have gotten really offended with that. They would have been like,
I have to share a quick example too. This just happened like 2 days ago. Really quick example. So I'm in another networking group locally here in Denver, and I was putting together like my little portfolio of my packages and stuff. And I put together the front page, and it has a picture of me, and it's a beautiful picture. If this is my Brandy here, actually Brandy took the picture here in Colorado. We haven't seen her face, so I'm not sure if it's her, but I'm pretty sure it is. And I'm wearing, you know, like this black top. It's got spaghetti straps. It's showing a little bit of my belly, and like it's sexy and really powerful and bold. And I asked for feedback in this group on, you know, what do you guys think of the cover? And overall, I just got a lot of like, you know, thumbs up, whatever. But this guy was like, well, I like it, but I really think that you need to wear something more professional because you're trying to show your best self. And this is supposed to be marketing you, blah, blah, blah. And like, at first I was pissed. I was like, F you. This is not who I am. And I was talking to my boyfriend, and I was like, bruh, this is exactly why I left corporate. And I never want to do this, you know, be that person again. And I'm not going to be anyone but me. And he's like, say that. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to say that because it's not going to do any good. And so I came back with a response to him, and I was like, you know what? Thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate it. I see where you're coming from. And this is my brand. This is who I am. Edgy, sexy, empathic. Like, this is how I want to show up. And so I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you. I really appreciate your feedback, and I'm going to choose something different. And, you know, he didn't say anything to it, but I got a thumbs up on that comment. And I'm like, that felt good to me because I was authentic, even though I really wanted to just like punch him in the face a little bit. But I took my power and I kept my power, and I didn't give it away to him either. And I didn't question myself because I know who I am, and I don't need to be, you know, who anyone else thinks. So feedback it's as powerful as you need and want it to be.
Amen. Yes. And that is why I put a naked picture of myself on the cover of my book. I have a whole story around that too, kind of similar to Monica's, but right, because that's my brand. My brand is being raw and authentic, and like here I am, world, this is me. So why would I not put a beautiful artistic nude photo of me on my cover? So yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to hear from everyone. This is what we do on our coaching calls, is what was the most useful for you today? So pick one thing that really stood out for you, that blew your mind, and you're going to start using it moving forward, maybe in your speeches or workshops or social media posts. And what was the most useful for you today from our workshop?
These 4 questions that I mentioned in the chat box, but there was one special one. What do you want them to do with your audience? Like when they hear what you got to say, what you want them to do? Because this is such a huge motivation. And it's not just about blah, 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 you know. It's about actually creating an action out there.
Cool. Thanks, Erica. Yeah, isn't it? I think that's so helpful too, is to have those questions. And they're not really hard questions, but it kind of just gets you to think differently. And that was even just a quick story when I was getting ready to hire my editor and start writing my book. And I was telling one of my friends about my story, and she's like, well, why would people read your story? Like, why are people going to pay $10.99 to buy your book? And I was like, because it's my story. But it was like a wake up call. And I had to realize that, like, I hate to say this, but at the end of the day, like, people don't give a shit about your story unless they know what is in it for them. We all know that there's the acronym, what is in it for me factor. So really getting clear about that anytime we go out and share, like, our stories are so important. Don't get me wrong, so incredibly important, but we need to know how to convey to our audience what's in it for them and how it's going to be useful for them. And once you can start really tapping into that, that's when your stories become actual, like, marketing material and powerful and inspiring. And it's not just you airing out your dirty laundry or complaining or like brain dumping on people. So it really is, I think it's the most important question. Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple minutes left. I would still love to hear from people in the chat box. Please share what was the most useful thing for you today from the workshop. And then we're going to just tell you really quick about our amazing retreat we're putting on in January. And then we're going to do our drawing for the Amazon gift card, because we know all of you are Christmas shopping, and who doesn't want free money on Amazon?
Or Hanukkah shopping, or Kwanzaa, or any of the other holidays.
Right. I don't actually
gotta throw it out there.
Celebrates Christmas. You're right. Thank you for being inclusive.
Or winter solstice, whatever.
Or maybe you just want to treat yourself to something awesome on the Amazon.
Hey, you can keep the gift card. We don't care.
So you guys all have this on your worksheet. But just so you know, we only have 3 spots left in our retreat. And so we have this amazing, amazing retreats going on January 31st to February 2nd in Clearwater Beach, Florida, which I don't know if you guys know, it's the #1 beach in the United States. My parents have this beautiful beach mansion down there. I've grown up there. It's where we're going to host the retreat. And we are going to be, everything we did today is what we're going to help you to do at this retreat. We're going to help you to take your life story. We're going to craft it into your signature speech. You're going to be delivering this speech to everyone at the retreat. So you're getting comfortable sharing your story, practicing becoming a public speaker. So on top of that, you get so much other amazing things. Like, this is a $4,600 retreat, and we're actually giving you guys a deal. We had a flash sale yesterday for $1,000 off. We're not doing that anymore, but we wanted to do it for everyone who attended today. So it's only going to be $1,500 for the retreat. But so you get an elevator pitch call with Monica. She's going to help you to describe your offer and what you do in under 60 seconds. So next time you network, you're going to be able to confidently do that, get hired ASAP. I'm going to do a hypnotherapy session with you to move past any fears, visibility blocks of sharing your story at this time. You're going to get access to our online Fearless Public Speaking Academy course. So it's going to help you to put together your signature speech before the retreat. Monica's also going to do a polish your speech call with you. So you're going to practice saying your speech out loud to her, and she's going to give you immediate feedback that you can start implementing. You're also going to get a 30-minute personal branding photo shoot session from our photographer. So if you don't have professional photos yet, or you need to update them on your social media and website, you can do that with this branding photo shoot. Jennifer McNiven was our photographer for the last retreat in August, and she's going to be our photographer. We're going to have another upcoming retreat next year, but yes, you're going to be getting daily poolside yoga and meditation from me. We're going to have business and speaking workshops. We're all going to go out for a celebration dinner on Saturday night to celebrate after everyone's given their speech. You're going to be in an Airbnb on the beach with the other retreat women. So we're having 10 women come. All your meals are included. And then we're also going to be gifting you a public speaking and throat chakra clearing kit. So as you can see, we're just going to spoil you guys and shower you with so much gifts and amazingness. So if this is something that you're like, fuck yes, I need this. Why did you not tell me about this sooner, Krista and Monica? If you want to get it for our special deal today, only $1,500, then you need to put your $150 deposit down today to save your spot and to get that deal. And then your payments won't start till January. So if you're like, Krista, I have Christmas gifts that I have to do and I have bills I have to pay this month, you're good. All you have to do is $150 for the deposit, and then the payments don't, and then we'll put you on a 4-month payment plan starting in January. So it's only $375 per month. So all you have to do is buy the plane tickets or get there, and then we cover everything else. So this is trust me guys, this is a steal. Our future retreats will not be this low. I guarantee that they will not be this low, but we're just doing a special for yesterday and today. So we wanted to share that with you all.
Okay, so I have the little spinner wheel pulled up here with everyone's name. And I did include Amy in here too. I know Amy had to drop, but I wanted to make sure. So I've got Brandy, Erica, Michelle, Jennifer, Alani, and Becky, Amy. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's even making a clicking noise. I have to, it's making, oh my God, I have to turn the sound off of that. It's actually like applauding and people are cheering when I do this. I'm going to share my screen so you can see this right here. You guys see? Michelle? All right, congratulations, Michelle. It's totally random name generator. I just plug your names in and spin the wheel. So Michelle, we will get you that $25 Amazon gift card. Congratulations.
And holy shit, Monica, you have a lot of tabs open.
I know. It's the story of my life.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This was so fun to do. And just so you know, now you guys are on our email list, so you'll be updated. We're going to have a workshop like this every month. And also, if you want to take advantage of the retreat deal, there's a link you can click on the worksheet to put your $150 deposit down. Or if you guys have any questions, just message Monica and I, or we have our email address on there. But otherwise, you all are amazing, and we can't wait to see you showing up powerfully on social media and your life, just telling the world what you've been through and how you can help them and serve them. And we want you to be bold and loud and take up space and not intimidated, and to talk about these things, because our world needs that right now. Our world needs you guys. So.
Thank you all so much for being here. Have happy holiday season. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. And, you know, tag us when you go live or you go post something. Like Krista and I want to love up on your posts. So just when you show up, like, go throw our names in there. We will hit you up with a bunch of love and comments. Bye.
Bye.